Alright guys, so the tar paper's on the roof as you probably saw in the last video section, and I'm going to start doing structural work today. First thing I'm going to do is put 3 turnbuckles from exterior wall to exterior wall to help turn the roof into more of a triangle and to keep the walls from falling out when I remove most of this exterior wall for when I do the floor jacking. The reason I want to remove that wall is because for some reason the roof is level and nice and straight. The ceiling is pretty level in here, but the floor has a major dip in the middle here like this. So I'm afraid if I start jacking up the floor, yeah, I'll make the floor level, but then I'll start pushing the walls outwards and unleveling the ceiling and then messing up the roof's level. So I gotta take this wall out and just level the floor on its own. So yeah, it's kind of a headache. But anyway, I'm gonna put the turnbuckles in. I'm gonna cut out the subfloor around that whole beam today to get a good look at it. And then maybe, if that doesn't take as long as I think it might, I'm going to put those jacks under there and start thinking about how I'm gonna jack it up. Take out the wall sections and whatnot. So I know what some of you guys are probably thinking, why the heck do I actually need turnbuckles? Well, something I haven't really mentioned yet for some reason is that, take a look at this outside wall. So this is the stud that runs floor to ceiling by the door here. Putting a level on it. It's not level, it's leaning out. Let's get that better angle here. And if I pull out that gap I'm estimating is probably like 1.5 inches to 2 inches from top to bottom. So the top of this wall here is leaning out. Same story with this side over here. I don't really know if I got a good stud to measure on. Let me walk across. All right, same story with this wall over here. Let me find a stud. All right, as you can see, the bubble is on the inside there. I gotta pull the level out, and you can see once again there's a gap. So the 2 exterior walls here are leaning out. So I need to use the turnbuckles to basically pull them back in. Also, the turnbuckles serve my originally stated purpose of making sure that the ceiling doesn't collapse in when I take this wall out. Why am I taking that wall out? Well, because the ceiling is level, the floor is not. Someone obviously made the ceiling level at some point with this middle wall, repaired this middle wall, made it taller, and left the floor sag. So yeah, I gotta take the middle wall out, get the floor level, rebuild the middle wall so the ceiling and floor are both level and the same height on both sides of the wall. So yeah, that's why I gotta install those turnbuckles. Not only to provide more support when I'm doing structural work in here, but also to pull the outside walls back in. So let's go ahead and install these turnbuckles. Let's start cutting out the subfloor, and let's start evaluating what to do with this wall and what to do about jacking to not ruin the whole house in the process. All right, let's go. Alright guys, well the neighbor just stopped by, we talked for a while. I got all 3 turnbuckles installed right before he came over, as you can see here. And we were talking about leveling the house and jacking up the center and whatnot. And I went ahead and I showed him, I pulled up my tape measure and I measured up this wall right here. And that stud is 91.5. I measured up those studs over there, those are 91.5. And then I measured up this middle stud, the newer studs here that someone replaced in the past, I don't know, 20 years, something like that. It's 93. So that explains why my roof, or my ceiling, is a lot more level than my floor, because somebody tried to correct the ceiling levelness by making this wall have longer studs than the exterior walls. So yeah, I thought that was pretty interesting. No doubt about it, I gotta cut this wall out now and level the floor and then rebuild it completely correctly. Alright guys, so it's my first time in the house after a thunderstorm. It wasn't a very bad thunderstorm last night, probably like a 3 out of 10. Maybe probably less than a ½ inch of precipitation. But there is definitely standing water in the crawl space, and there should not be. It's been dry for like 2 weeks straight. The ground should have absorbed most of it, but all this tells me is that it's going to be bad in this crawl space during the wet seasons, like the spring. So what I'm gonna do after I cut out the rest of the subfloor today, and after I make my temporary supports for the middle wall and whatnot that I'll explain later, I'm gonna dig some trenches through here that all lead to a main sump pit right in the middle, probably somewhere under the kitchen, or maybe just right here in the living room. That way I can put a sump pump in there and pump the water out of the house in one way or the other, maybe into the main sewer if that's allowed, but definitely into the drainage ditch behind the house. Yeah, that definitely shouldn't be happening with this with the little amount of water in the dryness that we've had over the past few weeks. So I got to do something about that to make sure the new joists I put in here, the new subfloor I put in here, doesn't rot away immediately. But anyway, so back to the plan on the structure. I've changed my plans a lot. Today, after I get the subfloor cut out, I'm going to build a temporary support beam here that's going to just support the ceiling. It's going to go floor, beam across to the end of the kitchen there by the bathroom, support down, and then probably one support in the middle to the floor. I'm going to remove probably all of these joists because they all have termite damage or rot, or at least all these in the middle. I might leave those last two, they're in decent shape. All the joists in the living room are going to go. The beam right there is the footer, the original footer, the only pier footer in here, and then there's a big span like that. So what I'm going to do is after I move all these joists, after I get the temporary wall up, or temporary support in the middle up, remove the joists, remove the middle wall because it's going to have no weight on it. It already basically has no weight on it anyway. Just this middle wall between the kitchen and the living room. Leave the bathroom door and whatnot opening still there. And then I'm going to just take the Sawzall and Sawzall off this middle beam, maybe like 3 feet past the original pier footer there. Because this middle beam, I know you can't see it right now, but it's extremely U-shaped. If I just try to jack it up, it's going to jack up. It's got 70 years of sag built into it right now. So if I try to jack it up, it's going to jack up in a U shape and just push up like that. I'm pretty sure it's not going to bend back into shape unless I slowly jack it up over the course of like months. So anyway, I'm just going to replace the middle beam while I have it out. While I have everything out, and then I'm also going to dig a 3.5 foot deep hole right here, halfway between that original pier and that original concrete footer wall right there. I don't know if you can see it. Yeah. Halfway between that pier and that wall, that footer, I'm going to dig another pier and set the new beam on top of that, set the new floor joists on top of the beam, set the new wall on top of the floor joists, and have a entirely new kitchen and floor and living room and bathroom floor system in this house. As far as the under the kids' bedrooms go and under the parents' bedrooms go, the subfloor, the condition of the beam and the condition of the joists there, well, you can see mold on them, but those joists are fairly solid, and I have ordered 4 gallons of the most powerful, disgusting mold cleaning and preventing chemical I can get to save that subfloor and that beam. You'll see me apply that at some point in the next couple weeks and scrub those joists off and whatnot. And then hopefully I can correct the water problem in here with the sump pump pit and not have any further rotting. Under the parents' bedroom, well, I'm pretty sure there's a slab floor under the parents' bedroom with joists over top of it that are fairly new. So I don't think there's any problem in there as far as water damage goes. That used to be a garage in there, as like I said. And all the framing on the ceiling and whatnot looks pretty new too. So I think that should be okay in there. Kids' bedrooms, joists and subfloor, salvageable in my opinion. But living room and kitchen, no way. And most of that is not because of the standing water that happens during rain, but because yesterday, when I was taking out this subfloor, that shower drain there wasn't connected. And that's because the previous managers who basically ruined this house in several different ways, including burning it down, the plumbing in here was like this along this wall, the drain. So their shower, I'm sure they got complaints about the shower backing up and being 6 inches deep standing in water because it just wasn't draining, or it's being completely clogged, not draining at all. So instead of actually fixing the problem and sloping the pipes correctly, the drain pipes correctly, they just disconnected the drain right under the shower so that every time someone took a shower, it just drained straight into the crawl space. So, yeah, that's why all of these joists in here are just crap. All the joists and subfloor in here were just crap. Even if it was a dry season, there was water in this crawl space from people taking showers. Great. So, anyway, let's go ahead and start cutting out this subfloor, build this center support wall, start taking out that middle kitchen wall there, and maybe even get to cutting out the beam and then jacking up the existing beam there. One thing, I know I'm getting long-winded here on the speaking part, but my neighbor told me in his house, which is built just like this by the same builder, this center pier here was a concrete block, a solid concrete block, with 2 bricks on top, with a piece of wood on top of that to support the middle beam. And his bricks crumbled and fell apart, and his house started sagging. Well, guess what I found when I dug in, or when I opened up the subfloor here? I found a footer underneath here with a solid concrete block on top of it, with 2 broken bricks crumbled next to it. Let's see if I might have buried them. Yeah, you can see them down there maybe. With 2 broken bricks, as you can see right there is one of them, and a crappy piece of wood sticking out from between the concrete block and the beam there. So they built this house the exact same way his did. They built his, and I had the same problem. So right now that beam is sitting on the concrete block there on top of the footer, but the spacers, the two bricks in the board, have disintegrated and disappeared. So I'm going to jack that beam up like maybe 3 or 4 inches to get everything in the kids' bedrooms level again. All right, so let's go ahead and start. Glad I found that. I'll definitely be using that when I jack up the house. I'll put the jack next to it, and then I'll put some concrete blocks and foundation stones and whatnot in there to actually set the old beam on. So yeah, glad I found that. I was planning on using that and assuming that was the original footer, and then I would have just had the house sink again. Yeah, good to know. Good to know. Well, I'm going to get back to building this temporary support for the ceiling joists so they don't just fall out and break and get in the way and whatnot. Yep. Glad I found this. concrete block wedges underneath it. It's not the right answer. The right answer is digging a footer, but how the heck am I going to dig a footer under there in this like 1 foot tall crawl space? All right, so here's what I've got going on so far. I dug a hole there next to the those 2 concrete blocks that are just sitting in the dirt, and I put a paver in the bottom of the hole and put the jack on top of it, and I jacked up that beam right next to that right there about 1 inch, and I was able to fit some thicker shims in there. Then I put this 6-ton over here. That's the 12-ton. I put the 6-ton over here next to the repaired footer, and I jacked it up like 1 inch also, just to balance the beam out. That way there's not a bunch of weight hanging off on this side. Yeah, I'm going to go crawl underneath the house now with a 3rd jack that's in that bag. I got a jack and a bunch of shims in that bag. I'm going to push some pavers in front of me as I crawl under there, and I'm going to dig a hole that's big, like big enough to fit, where is it? One of those big pavers in, and then I'm going to stack chunks of paver on top of that in the hole. So I can put the jack on one side of the paver, and I can use the other side of the paver as the I guess new support area where I stack new support in. I'm going to try to get a concrete block on top of that if I can. So I'm going to dig a pretty deep hole. It's going to be like 1 foot deep because that beam is low. So, yep, that's going to be a lot of fun. I guess I'll update you when I update you. Hopefully the house doesn't fall apart. Alright guys, I don't know how well you can see back in there, but jack 3 is installed down in that hole. Right there in the middle of the screen, you can see the top of it. And then I got the foundation stone with some treated shims on top of that. Temporarily for now, I'm going to make sure I got more treated. I got to jack it up like another 1 inch or 2. And then I got the second 12-ton jack right here, right by this block. I'm going to continue jacking. And I got my 3rd 6-ton jack right there. Looks like it's a little cockeyed. But anyway, I might have to take care of that. But anyway, yep, just showing you where I'm at in the process. Well guys, I'm done jacking. I'm done jacking with it anyway. So, what the results, I got it to be about 1.5 inches higher, that beam. I don't know how long it's gonna stay there, but it's there right now. And look at the level in here. This is in the kids' bedroom. Before, this level used to be, the bubble used to be all the way at the end, like this. Now, it is slightly towards the middle. Nice. How long is it gonna stay slightly towards the middle? Well, I give it a few years, and it will probably be right back down there, but I mean, it does feel more level. The floor doesn't feel like I'm about to fall over. It's probably still like 2 or 3 inches out of level, but across the whole 10-foot section there, but I'm probably just gonna have to build the floor up to make it level, because trying to jack it, I had it on a 2x4. I had the bottom of the jack, so there's the jack on a 2x4 that was about 1.5 feet long down there in the hole, and the big foundation stone next to it, long ways. And I jacked that, and that would go down 2 times as much as it would push the house up. So by the end of it, that has like an 8.5 inch, I don't know, jacking distance or whatever. By the end of it, the jack was like 6 inches buried in the ground. The 2x4 as well. That's pretty deep for pushing a horizontal 1.5 foot long 2x4 down through mud, or not mud, but through, like, you know, dirt. So anyway, I got the beam jacked up like 2 inches, and the 2x4 jacked down like 6 inches before that ran out of travel. And I was just done with it at that point. It's been like 4 or 5 hours. And this jack here, so if you remember, This concrete block here used to have just like these little falling apart 1/8 inch thick shims in it. Now it's got a full-blown treated 2x6 in it. So that's 1.5 inches that I jacked that up. It's actually got some room I can shim under there a little bit more too, which I'm gonna do because the jack is still in place. So I got it raised a little over 1.5 inches, and that's good enough. I gotta stop messing with it. It's not even permanent anyway. So while I was doing that, if you notice, this joist here is new. Try to get a good angle on it. Yeah, it's a new joist right there. The other joist that it's currently sistered to, but soon to be cut off and taken out just past the beam and just past the sill plate over there, started cracking. So replaced that joist. I pounded it in there. I actually used that jack I put the top of the joist in like this, and then used that jack to push it in in the middle. Stupid flashlight always has that blinking mode. Anyway, yeah, I used right there where you see the ground messed up, I used the jack to push the bottom of the beam up and that way to get it in there nice and tightly. So anyway, or not the beam, the joist. So anyway, I'm done jacking with jacking. Next thing I'm gonna do is probably cut this beam off somewhere over here where it's not being supported anymore, and start digging the footer there so I can pour it today. Tonight I'm going to be unloading shingles at 4 o'clock onto the roof. They're getting delivered to the roof with a boom truck. And then I'll probably call it a day after that, and then for all weekend, this weekend, me and helper are going to be shingling the roof. So I guess I'm going to cut this beam off and start digging.